Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the moon sextile or trine Mercury in Synastry. Now, first off, the unconscious side, the inner personality, which is the moon, can be in harmony with communication of the Mercury person. Um, the moon person may easily respond to what the Mercury person asks, um, whether it's they need just general information and what have you. They can do so without perceiving the Mercury person as being overly inquisitive or nosy. If the Mercury person's Mercury, say it's in the zodiac sign Cancer as an example, the person may be inquiring about things pertaining to one's home, their family life. If the Mercury person has their Mercury in Pisces, it could be over maybe questions regarding spiritual beliefs and forgiveness and thoughts about compassion, sacrifice, even maybe questions pertaining to the metaphysical, which can include astrology as some examples. And this is too where the moon person is generally, able to, I should say, a Mercury person, may encourage the moon person to express, verbalize, and articulate their feelings well, and be able to deal with them rationally. So it makes this a very auspicious aspect for that, not having the emotions become, too irrational or out of control. The Mercury person may, pretty much, you know, um, they have an idea, where the moon person, as far as understanding their emotional needs and understanding, the inner personality, the unconscious side of the moon person. Let's say the moon person has their moon in Aquarius as an example. They may see that moon person's unconscious side, that inner self, as being rather, eccentric, unorthodox, selfless, altruistic, considerate, innovative, unobtrusive, as some examples. And also, too, as far as the synastry aspect goes, the thing is the moon person, may, if he or she needs, short journeys like a ride to the store from the Mercury person may generally be amenable to this. And I would say as well, if the Mercury person needs some kind of assistance, like with short journeys, such again as a ride to the store, running an errand, the Moon person may be sympathetic to this. And the Moon person, I would say as well, can easily nurture the Mercury person's their communications. And the thing about this is the Mercury person may also be able to lend that hand, figuratively speaking, and well, literally at times, because I would say, not I would say, no, Mercury, if actually Mercury does correspond with the hands in astrology, and if the moon person needs something that requires some kind of, manual dexterity, whether it might be, auto or refrigeration repair as some examples, or AC or something that requires the manual dexterity, the Mercury person may be amenable to this and very willingly obliged to the moon person's requests. And the thing about this synastry aspect as well is that the moon person, may have known this Mercury person possibly during the early education. What I'm referring to in early education is the grade school, junior high school, and high school. And the thing to about this is that the Mercury person may easily be able to analyze the moon person's the inner personality, their unconscious side, and even their emotions. Let's say, the moon person has their moon in Scorpio. The unconscious side, the inner persona, maybe one that's rather complex. The emotions may be rather turbulent and convoluted and very powerful and intense. And the Mercury person may also be able to readily understand the moon person's emotional needs. And let's say that the moon person has their moon in Sagittarius. Those emotional needs can include sports, the outdoors, it could be camping, adventure, exploration, publishing, advertising, just expanding horizons in general as some examples. Now, as I've stated in my earlier videos on the natal chart placements, it's important to never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary position, placement, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on that alone, because the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, not just one. And the same applies to synastry aspects. One synastry aspect doesn't make or break a relationship, and in this case, the moon sextile or trine Mercury in synastry is certainly no exception. In most synastry charts, you're going to have a plethora of aspects between person A and person B. And this is an auspicious aspect for emotional understanding and being able to talk about things with the moon person regarding their home life and so on and so forth, their family, and how they feel about things. But the thing is that you could have some aspects in the synastry chart that might offset this to some degree. It wouldn't change like the basic interpretation or delineation of the synastry aspect, but it wouldn't, there would be things that would make this a little bit maybe less flowing, and there would still there could be some issues with having the negative synastry, having some synastry aspects that would be adverse. And let's say, for example, you have this aspect in synastry, right? Let's say you have the moon sextile or trine Mercury in synastry between person A and B. But let's say the other the other side, or let's say there's you have in another case, or not another case, you have a synastry aspect of these same two people, where you have the ascendant is square or opposite one person's Mercury. That Mercury person may have trouble understanding the ascendant person, the outer demeanor, maybe to some degree, or if or let's say the Mercury person has their Mercury square or opposite the other person's sun. They may not understand the true self as well, or may not be as compatible with, or I should say, they don't feel like really at quite as ease in communicating with that person. As a result, the Mercury person may not be in agreement with the ascendant person, what they want to do in terms of their new beginnings, or the same in just their outer demeanor as far as the ascendant goes. I'm sorry, if Mercury makes an adverse aspect to one's ascendant, but if Mercury, let's go back to Mercury making an I'm sorry, I gotta go back, be kind, rewind. If the Mercury person has their Mercury making an adverse aspect to the other person's sun, then they may not understand the more the true self of that individual. The Mercury person in this case, having the moon sextile trine Mercury person can understand the inner persona, the subconscious side of the moon person well. But if that Mercury person has their Mercury making an adverse aspect to that moon person's sun, then they might not quite understand the true self, the more the conscious side of the person quite as well. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.